then we do what we call redirect. So we're redirecting a person to the right pathway, basically. So they've come to us, but actually we're not the right pathway for that person to be going on. And that's after, again, the same process where we've done a whole lot of mahi to try and find out what's going on for them. Often the GP referral is absolutely fantastic, and we can get what we need from there and all the other information that's been to make a really clear decision. No, they don't meet our criteria, and we give them a whole lot of options in the community that we talked about earlier on. So and we look at, like Laura said, all that previous history, their medical history. Do we know them? What have they tried? And if they haven't, often we'll get a referral back in quite quickly sometimes, and so we'll look and think, have they actually done those recommendations that we actually sent out previously? Whether that's mana korere or mana aki, and if not, why not? And do we need to support whānau to do that, to access that? And is that something that we can help, or do we need to give clear instructions? What have we done? We don't just again go, you're going to go back but to that NGO, but we want you to have actually done that, and we want you to have done that a really good trial in that space before, not just 1 or 2 sessions, because those 1 or 2 sessions is actually getting to know that person more so than actually doing the work that you're going along for. You might be going along to look at some anxiety work, exposure type work within that space.
As another part of that redirect process, sometimes we'll get things through for, say, ADHD, for example, where we've got all of the information that we need. It's all really well filled in, but things like the SNAP forms, we have to have threshold levels that they need to reach, and if they don't meet those levels, then we just can't accept them onto the pathway. We've kind of already talked about the pressures on the system and things like that, so we have to really just look at that moderate severe type presentation. So in that case, we would look at what is the information that's been provided. Is there something else going on that might not necessarily be ADHD but might look a little bit like ADHD, and try and work things up through that lens as well, and then try and redirect to an appropriate service for what we think might be going on there.
And when we do all that gathering of information, if we need to ring a school or another organisation that's been involved with this person, we always get permission. So we need consent from whānau to actually be ringing those people. So we don't just randomly ring up the school and go, oh, we've had a referral for you, such and such, because the family mightn't want that to happen. They may say, no, we don't want you to contact the school, Or the family may have asked the GP to include that information that I give consent, the family gives consent to contact the school, this is the person to contact. Or it may be in that school health and wellbeing information. So we've actually got a link to the person that we need to. But we would never just go in and ring people that we haven't actually spoken to whānau about or have permission to do that.
Yeah, we don't do cold calls.
No.
We're not looking for business.
No. And I suppose when we're part of the redirect as part of the MDT is, from a cultural, I'm there to do a cultural assessment, which is a te arotakinga. Are they connected to their iwis? Is there funding there for them to go to see Book McKenzie and some services that are out there? So that's really important. Are you connected? If you're not, then you need to. Would you like to be reconnected? And so part of the redirect is to, are you connected? Are you registered? Does your iwi have funding? Because that stops a lot of our whānau from actually engaging, because it's about the pūtea. Because $300 for an assessment is a lot of money for many families.
It might be even more than that.
I think it's a bit more than that, but I could be.
And also Maria will be, not necessarily, we won't be writing that in the letter. Maria will be ringing the family whānau and actually speaking to them directly about that, and then including that information within that letter, because just getting a letter is pretty impersonal.
Yeah.
But because we're so under pressure, often that's what we end up doing. And a lot of work goes into that letter that ends up going back to the family whānau, the young person and the GP, and often all you're going to read is that first part that your child's not been accepted, and then that would be heartbreaking. And you're like, oh, these blooming people, so-and-so's, and you screw it up and chuck it in the bin. And we totally get that. Again, we're family members, we're parts of families, we wouldn't like to get that as well. But that's why I said before, a whole lot of work goes into actually writing that letter. It's not just a robotic letter that's just generated. Yes, we've got a standard template, but we then put within that stuff according to that family in any of those letters that we're sending out.